Welcome, odds and ensers, to the very first installment of Shoot the Shit Saturday, right here on Oddities and Endtrails. That's right, for the month of October, Odds and Ends Gaming gets transformed into Oddities and Endtrails, and I, of course, am your host, the one, the only, highly rated, armor-plated, imitated, but never, and I mean ever, duplicated, Espionage DB7. Joining me here today is the hostess with the mostest, Valkyrie Grinder.
It's me.
And our very special guest star, Death the Fox Goddess. Okay. Well, she's here somewhere.
If you hear a wee, she might be coming.
Okay.
I'm here.
Oh, yes.
There she are.
I've been here the whole time.
Well, at any rate, we hope that you enjoyed yesterday's live stream kickoff of Oddities and Endtrails, and we got it going all month long. We have horror games lined up from here to October 31st, so be sure to tune in. And if you haven't done so already, and if you're new here, welcome. Please be sure to subscribe, hit that bell icon for notifications, click that like button, leave a comment, follow us, all of that. It's only here on Odds and Ends Gaming where you'll find things like Odds and Ends, like Oddities and Endtrails, and like our Shoot the Shit Saturdays, our Fallback Fridays, and all of that.
Silent Pal takeover.
Hey, I've been telling you to do it, and you haven't. I mean, you can.
I'm biding my time.
You're biding your time. She's just gonna spring it on us.
We're gonna secretly do it behind your back. You will never know it came.
Until you be like, here, S, edit this for me.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Hey, you gotta admit, a year plus or so ago when y'all did it last, I made that boss ass intro for y'all.
You did.
It was a fucking awesome intro, one of my best. But what's on the agenda for today? I have something that I dug up, and I'd like to tell you all something of a spooky story, if that's okay.
Oh no.
So, y'all know all this thing that's going on with Gabby Petito, right? Obviously, she rest in peace. Her body was recently found, but her disappearance sparked, a media frenzy. She became, the number one trending topic on Twitter and everything. She's been ubiquitous, and of course, I'm so sad that she was killed, and I do hope that they find justice for whoever it was that killed her. I don't know if it was that laundry kid that actually did it or whatever. I mean, innocent until
laundry kid.
Landry. I don't know what is his name.
You mean her boyfriend?
Yeah.
I don't know what his name is. Just call him her boyfriend.
Yeah, her boyfriend. Something laundry, whatever. Anyway, it's more than likely that he did it, but I'm only saying that whoever did it, because obviously innocent until proven guilty, even though everything kind of...
Let's be honest, the evidence of it's pretty well...
It's pretty overwhelming. I know, but still, the court of law...
Let's be honest, an innocent man doesn't go into hiding.
Yeah, exactly. He wouldn't run from the law.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying he's innocent.
I mean, hell, we've even had guilty people still technically be out in the open.
No.
I'm look at those twins.
I'm not saying that he's innocent by any stretch, nor do I believe him to be innocent. I do believe him to be guilty, but I have run some scenarios in my head. I mean, let's say that by some happenstance he happens to be innocent, but all the evidence is mounting against him. Wouldn't you flee? Like, wouldn't you run? Well, some people would. Some people
Let's be honest. If you're fucking innocent, you fucking keep being innocent. Just because the evidence doesn't say it, doesn't mean you aren't innocent.
If that were the truth, then Richard Kimball and The Fugitive, as soon as the plane crashed, he would have been like, hey, I'm right here, guys. Here I am. And the movie would have ended right there.
I mean, it's a movie, yes.
You know what?
Let's be honest. As if anything worked like how common sense does in movies, half the movies wouldn't even be that long.
Well, the truth is that many people have gone away for being innocent. Again, I'm not stating that I believe him to be innocent. I'm just saying that what my point
People be proven innocent.
my point is innocent until proven guilty. Even
I'm sorry,
despite of
but
his
no.
actions. Yes, that's how it works here, and in the
No.
courts. Yes, that is how it works here.
Okay. Espy, let's.
Hey, what do you mean, Espy? I mean, I'm.
Okay, no, okay. Get on to with what you're talking about. Like, let's focus on
No, but all
the
I'm.
Halloweeny stuff.
But all I'm
It's
saying is it's true
over.
that innocent until
Yeah.
proven guilty. But fine. Anyway, the whole Gabby Petito situation kind of reminded me of a case that happened back in 2015. Are any of you guys familiar with a former YouTuber whose channel was called Ambient Aura Nation,
Nope.
No.
or the name Anthony Unger?
Nope.
Well, this is perfect. I am going to tell you, it was a big story for a while, and then it just kind of fizzled out.
Disappeared.
Yeah, and well, I wondered like if maybe they found him or something, and that's why the story didn't get any more attention. But I actually looked it up today, and no, he was never found. His disappearance is unsolved. I watched some videos today. I actually read a few articles, and I kind of compiled some notes, and I'm gonna tell you his story because it's a pretty creepy tale. So this guy, again, just for some background, he's a YouTuber. Was a YouTuber, went missing. The name of his channel used to be Ambient Aura Nation. Real name was Anthony Unger. He had a live-in girlfriend named Michelle Sivan, and this actually takes place here in Valen Mines state of Texas. This takes place out in a very rural part of Texas up north called King County, Texas. There's a lot of fields and rocky terrain and kind of like desert area out there. And I remember this story happening. I remember hearing about this around 2015. I was still working at my old place, Associates Insurance, where I used to work. And he was a decently sized YouTuber. I mean, he wasn't like in the millions of subs, but he had several 100,000. And what he used to do was, you guys seen those ambient background videos where it's like 10 hours of a fireplace burning, or 10 hours of a grassy meadow or howling winds and stuff like that? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Vaguely, but yeah.
So that's what this guy used to do. His channel was nothing but ambient backgrounds. But if you've ever spent any amount of time actually watching some of these ambient videos, and I have, because like when I'm working, sometimes I like to have them playing on my TV just to have something in the background. A lot of times they may be like 8 to 10 hour long videos, but they're usually maybe about 30 minutes of video looped over and over again for 8 to 10 hours. Well, yeah, apparently what this guy would do is, I mean, he had videos of like fireplaces and stuff like that, but his speciality was that he would actually drive out to remote areas and set up recording equipment and leave it recording for up to 8 hours. And again, keep in mind, this is all done in a very rural part of Texas, so I guess he wasn't really afraid that somebody was going to come by and steal his camera or anything, because apparently he would leave it out overnight and come back for it in the morning. So when he recorded, it would capture like things of the wildlife. It would capture wild hogs, coyotes, or maybe cows and livestock passing by. You could hear the crickets, cicadas, all the sounds of like nature and wildlife. So I take it they're pretty good videos. His channel's long since been taken down. It's not available anymore. But like I said, he'd go back in the morning, he'd get the camera and upload the footage, and apparently, like I said, he had a pretty good following. They'd leave timestamps about when there was a coyote that would come out on the screen, or when something would happen, like there was a hog that passed by, stuff like that. Well, apparently he also had a pretty big social media presence. He'd post to Twitter, he'd post to Facebook, he'd ask about like what kind of videos, you know, his audience would like to see next, and where he was going, what areas he was surveying to do his next ambient videos and stuff like that. So you're probably thinking that this guy disappeared while out filming somewhere, but that's not actually the case. Based on what I've read in the article and what I saw in some of the YouTube videos, his disappearance and the events leading to his disappearance began when he went to this one new area that he hadn't gone to before, that he hadn't explored before. It was a vast field, almost like a desert, out in it's in a pretty arid part of Texas. There were cactuses, Joshua trees, rocky mounds, things of that nature. And he set up he put all his equipment out right before dusk. Apparently at night it would get very beautiful. The stars were all visible. It was a beautiful clear night. The sky would turn into this very lustrous shade of blue. Plus it was going to be a full moon that night, so it was going to be an ambient video of a starry moonlit night over a dusty plain. But according to some of his Twitter posts, he got out there and he almost immediately started feeling weird. He said he felt like he was being watched, or that there was somebody or something watching him. Now keep in mind, he'd been doing this sort of thing for a while, so he was used to going out into the wilderness at night alone. But he said there was something off-putting about this place, that about this place in particular that he just didn't like. But he shrugged it off, set up his equipment, and went home for the night. The next post he made, which was made before actually uploading the video to YouTube, was the next morning. When he went back to collect the equipment, he said he could swear that there were footprints in and around the area where his camera was that were not his. He said that they appeared to be considerably smaller than his, and he was sure that they weren't there the night before. But he collected the film equipment. It was undisturbed, everything was in place, so he thought nothing of it, collected the equipment, and went home. And then he uploaded the video to YouTube. He titled the video Lone Star Starry Night and uploaded it without issue. Now keep in mind, these were 8-hour videos that he would record, usually from just before dusk to just after dawn. So he didn't have time to sit down and watch 8 hours of footage. The thing is that this video immediately started getting some strange comments. People started posting timestamps of certain parts of the video where there were anomalies, aberrations. They claimed to hear the sound of a child crying, a little boy crying off camera. They claimed to see a white mist waft by the screen ever so often. A lot of them said that it resembled the size and shape of a small child. There were also parts where little floating orbs seemed to appear. When the guy caught wind of all these comments, he went back to check the video himself more closely, and sure enough, whenever somebody pointed out a timestamp, there was definitely something strange going on in that particular segment of the video. As for the mist and the glowing orbs, he figured it was maybe distortion of the lenses, some kind of refraction of the moon or whatever. He just shrugged it off. But he definitely could hear and could not explain what sounded like the sounds of a crying child. And it sounded almost like it was coming from behind the camera or something, or right near the camera, But again, just something weird, maybe some kind of weird animal. I've heard animals that can make weird, like a magpie can actually sound like a little girl laughing, if you've ever heard it. It was also said that in certain parts it sounded like there were footsteps very close to the camera, almost as if they were approaching it or shuffling their feet, right next to it. The thing is that people say that this is kind of what caused his disappearance. They say that he may have disturbed, awakened, or brought back some sort of evil spirit with him. The guy's live-in girlfriend at the time said that after he made that video, he started getting restless. He wasn't sleeping much anymore. He was in a very paranoid state. saying that he could not shake the feeling that wherever he went, someone was watching him or following him. When he did get some sleep, he'd wake up in a cold sweat, complaining of nightmares or claiming that he saw shadows shifting in the dark. He started documenting these happenings. He would post about them on Twitter and on Facebook. A lot of his followers said that he was making it up, pulling some sort of stunt to get more views. But the thing is, the uploads slowed down and eventually stopped. So if his plan was to get more views, he would have increased, his output, or at least kept it the same. But the video output slowed down. According to his girlfriend, who was interviewed multiple times by various sources after his disappearance, he didn't want to go out to film the videos anymore. He still would, but he didn't like to go out alone anymore. He would ask her to come with him. His paranoia and erratic behavior got worse and worse, but even the girlfriend said that she would sometimes hear inexplicable things in the middle of the night. Things that sound like drawers or windows banging, footsteps, and once or twice what sounded like a little boy crying outside their house. As things got freakier and freakier, they went to a nearby church to get some holy water and tried to do a blessing on their house. They weren't really the religious type, but at that point they were ready to try anything. It had been over a month since he'd uploaded his last video, and the guy was known for uploading about 1 to 2 videos per week. His social media posts stopped, and people just stopped hearing from him. The next thing anyone ever heard from him or his girlfriend was the fact that his girlfriend called the police. Apparently, the guy had been missing for over 24 hours. She'd call all his friends, his parents, and anywhere that he may be staying, but couldn't find him. Since recording that one Lone Star Starry Night video, she said he'd just gone into a downward spiral. He was barely eating, he barely slept. He'd lost nearly 50 pounds in the time since that video. He said that whatever he brought back with him that day would not leave him alone. And one day he snapped. He started cursing wildly, demanding to be left alone. They hadn't argued. He would just press his hands to his ears and started screaming to be left alone. The girl said that he blew out of the house, got in his truck. When she ran after him asking where he was going, he said he just needed to get away and be alone for a while. He drove off, leaving a trail of dust in his wake, and that's the last time anyone ever saw Tony Unger. As with most missing persons investigations, one of the first suspects was the girlfriend. She was investigated and scrutinized thoroughly, but there was no evidence of foul play. There was no evidence of struggles or anything like that. She didn't stand to gain anything from his disappearance, so she was soon dropped as a suspect and a person of interest. And to this day, Unger's disappearance is one of those unsolved mysteries. His truck was found abandoned by a creek with the driver door hanging open and the headlights on, but there was no trace of him or what happened to him. But this is where it gets even weirder. So, remember that field that Unger went to in order to record the video? Well, apparently, Unger's parents, desperate to find their son, they tried hiring a private detective. They'd been in contact with the police. They were getting nowhere. As a last-ditch effort, they hired a psychic. Based on what I read on this article, which the article was I found on a website called therap.com, but based on what I read on this article, the psychic said that she could not sense Unger at all. But when she came to Unger and the girlfriend's house, she did say that she felt some sort of lingering presence. Something had been disturbed and had attached itself to Anthony, and it was from the area that one particular video came from. Now, apparently they went out to the spot where the video was recorded, and the psychic was supposedly able to sense something there and actually lead authorities to an unmarked grave of a small child. It was a boy, skeletal remains, between the age of 8 and 10. His remains had been there for about 2 decades, since around the mid-90s. His arms and legs were bound with rope. He was disposed of, wrapped in a green garbage bag. There was some DNA evidence found on the boy's red shorts indicating that he had been sexually assaulted before he died, but the sample was far too degraded to be able to positively ID anyone. But the worst part is that even besides the rope and the evidence of rape, there was other signs that the boy had died a very violent death. Parts of his skull were caved in as if having been pummeled repeatedly with a rock. And there were scratch marks on his spine, his actual spine under his jaw, meaning that the way the child died was having his throat slit to the extent that it cut into his spine. Anyway, the boy's remains were interred at Crown Hill Cemetery, but were never identified. No relatives or family members ever came forth to identify the child as their own. It's believed the child is one by the name of Asher Washelli, a boy who went missing in 1993 and was thought to be abducted from a grocery store. But the family has long since moved out of state and could not be reached for confirmation. But beyond that, there's so many disappearances, so many brutal and violent deaths. What was that Asher Washelli, or any number of hundreds of thousands of children that go missing every year? Not only that, but what happened to Anthony Unger? Did he meet some uncertain fate? Maybe he got drunk and wandered into the woods and fell prey to some wild animal. Maybe he got into an altercation and ended up a murder statistic, or maybe whatever it was that he encountered out in the field on that lone starry night really did follow him home. It's hard to believe that a spirit of a child could prove to be an evil, malicious entity, but this was a child that died violently. Perhaps that violence, that anger, that hatred, that malice manifested itself into an evil, vengeful spirit. Perhaps that torment that poor innocent child suffered manifested itself into some concentration of evil and latched itself onto Tony, dragging him to his demise and perpetuating the cycle of bloodshed. And perhaps we'll never know. So, that sound familiar to any of you?
Nope.
Val?
No, actually.
You've never heard? Huh?
Yeah, you said back in 2015?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Are you looking it up?
I was doodling.
I'm doodling.
I was doodling while I was listening, but no.
Well, the truth is, it's not.
I mean, it only sounds similar to this other person who used to make YouTube videos that mysteriously disappeared after making one.
The cave guy, the one that used to went to caves. Yeah. Well, the truth is, there is no Anthony Unger. There is no Asher Washelli. You
made that whole shit up, didn't you?
Yes.
I'm pretty damn sure that if there was someone from YouTube that died, that shit would be like every fucking where. Even if you're not into like that person, you would know about them.
I've never gotten to tell a ghost story. I wanted to make one up, and I wanted to see
like the whole time I'm listening, I'm like, this sounds too oddly similar to the goddamn cave person.
No, the cave person didn't have anything paranormal about it, or, well, not. God damn.
Yeah, it did. Considering there was people going like, don't go in there, and even he's like, when I went in there, I didn't feel like I should be here. I felt really off about it.
I kind of based it on him, but
paranoia.
I kind of based it on him, but I wanted to make it my own. I never.
The whole time I'm just sitting here going like, why does this sound more similar to that goddamn cave person that I know about?
I don't even know that much about that guy's disappearance. I just kind of heard about it, so I didn't like rip that story off. But I wanted to see if I was creative enough to basically create my own ghost story, even a mini one, and that's what I came up with.
I mean, the only thing that really kind of threw it into like me not really wanting to believe it, or even want to believe it to begin with, was when you pulled in the psychic.
Well, I mean, that happens. People do that.
I mean, it is, but let's be honest, most psychics are con artists.
Yeah, true, but again, it does happen. Plus, I
mean, yeah, they can be pulled in, but still, most of them are con artists.
But
like, I mean, even if you get really desperate and you go for them, you can't really hold their word to anything.
Well, what did you think of the story itself?
It wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad.
Kind of sounds like one of the creepypastas I listen to.
Yeah, that's what I was also thinking. I'm like, why does this sound also like something that Nikki would listen to in the middle of the night?
You know, the thing that sucks is I don't have the voice for storytelling. You know, I have.
I don't know about that.
My voice is horrible. It just is.
I think you sounded great.
It's a fact, but like if I had like imagine if I had like a fucking.
I mean, believe me, I've actually listened to some people that I wish did not tell horror stories because they cannot do it well, and then others I'm like, yeah, you can keep going. That one's nice. That's a good voice.
But
you're on the end that okay, yeah, I can listen to you.
I actually made that story up today during work, and I thought it was pretty good. But anyway, Val, you got anything you want to talk about before we wrap things up?
I think we've reached the mark.
You think? So, yeah, I guess we can kind of wrap things up there. Wanted to start off with something spooky, and yeah, we got a little off topic, but that's okay. We got all month long. Got plenty of scary stuff happening, gameplay. You know, stay tuned for our live streams, our video uploads. We got all month long stuff coming your way. But we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up there. Anybody have any parting words?
Never trust SB. Never trust him.
Why? What makes me so untrustworthy?
I don't know. You just asked if you have parting words.
You mean that story that was a fake?
I mean, yes. In this day and age, that's a little risky.
I thought that was a good story.
I mean, it was. Thing is, it's just a little risky when people do in fact disappear and then never be seen again.
Yeah, poor Tony Unger. Hopefully they'll find him someday.
But that's just been happening forever, though. To the people. So
yeah, unsolved mysteries. They appeal.
I mean,
to us.
there was this one. There was this one. Let's see, what case was it? Where a person went missing and then they found them like multiple years later. Come to find out, the person had actually gotten on a bus, completely forgotten who they were, started a whole new life as a different person, and then once they found them, they're like, oh yeah, that's my husband.
How do you start a new life? I've always wondered that. I mean, you need like so many documents just to do basic things. You know, to get a job, to open a bank account. I mean,
it also depends on what year it was.
Yeah, true.
Or what time frame it was when it happened. But there was this one case where this lady who had left and apparently went missing. Come to find out, apparently she had left, got on a bus, completely forgetting who the hell she was or the fact that she had a husband and kids, and literally left and started a whole new life. And they found her. I can't remember how they found her, but they found her. And she admits that she'd actually just completely forgotten. And I think when they showed a picture of her husband, she remembered that was in fact her husband. But she had literally had just forgotten everything and just decided to make a whole new life for herself. I mean, there's a lot of cases where people have technically completely had like a case of just amnesia happen so suddenly that they have no idea who they were, and they just start a whole new life until either they die and they never realize who the fuck they were originally, or they eventually get found and get reminded, yeah, your name actually is this. You went missing a few years ago.
Maybe I'll write a story
many years
about
ago to be exact. There's I listen to a lot of like missing people cases and stuff that are like either unsolved or have been solved in recent years.
Yeah, they're fascinating and
oh yeah, they are. Cause you're just like, how did this happen? Like, how did no one notice?
I mean, and not only just missing people, but like there's big, like just murders and stuff that are completely unsolved. Like the Tylenol poison scares of the '80s. I mean, do you remember that? Have you ever heard of the Tylenol poison scare?
I mean, I wasn't around. I wasn't alive in the '80s, but yeah.
They never found like who did it. I mean, and
they always had like suspicions of people, but they never could find like evidence.
Same thing with the Zodiac killer. They had suspicions, but never found them. They
actually that one I think they did narrow it down to like one person, but guy had died.
Yeah, but it wasn't conclusive. It was they were like 90% sure.
I mean, it's kind of like the I think the actor's name was Bob Crane. It's kind of like his murder. Like they had like evidence or like blood splatter or something in his car or in somebody's like one of his friends' cars, and they could never really identify that it was his blood, but they always kind of suspected that it was his. But I don't think they ever actually convicted the dude of that kill, even though there was a lot of evidence more or less pointing to that it was him. But they could never really, it was always circumstantial.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that, and I find it fascinating. I used to love Unsolved Mysteries. I've checked out the new Netflix one, but it's just not the same without Robert Stack. I remember a show that was on in the 90s, and I used to love, this was all about paranormal mysteries. Either of you remember a show called Sightings? I take it as a no.
I have no idea.
It was a great fucking show.
Sorry, what was the question?
Sightings. Have you ever seen a show called Sightings?
I've heard of it, but it wasn't my...
It was so underrated. It was the Unsolved Mysteries. Well, actually, Unsolved Mysteries had paranormal stuff in it too. But it was it was 100% paranormal. It had to do with... Anything had to do with ghosts or demons or aliens or anything paranormal, would come out on that show, and it had a great fucking theme song too. It had a very X-Files Unsolved Mysteries-ish theme song, and I mean, I love that show, and I've tried to track it down, and I found the scarce episode here and there on YouTube, but I haven't been able to find the show itself. It's a fantastic show.
An interesting fact about the X-Files theme song?
What's that?
It used to terrify me as a kid. I don't know why, but if there was like a trailer on a movie that I was watching that had the X-Files music that played, I would immediately like fast forward through it because for some reason that music just terrified me as a kid.
Well, it's meant to. That's
the thing is I've never actually seen the X-Files.
I used to watch it. I fell out.
But that's the thing is that for some reason the music, even though I never watched the show, never saw anything of it, for some reason the music just terrified me to the point that I'm like, I ain't listening to this, and I would just fast forward through it.
I had a song that did that to me when I was a kid, and you would say it's the weirdest thing ever. It was from an old NES game, a Nintendo game, called Iron Sword 2: Wizards and Warriors. Never heard of it. There's a bit of music that comes out on the title screen that, for some reason, it would just creep me the fuck out, and I hated it. And now that I'm an adult, I've gone back to listen to it, and I actually love it now. But I remember it used to give me chills and shudders, and I just turn it off. I love the video game, but if I ever put that cartridge in and left the game sitting there for a little bit to where it would go to the story and start playing that the background story or whatever, it would play that music. It would creep me the fuck out. It would terrify me. So there's music that is definitely designed to do that. So I mean, I know the feeling. I had one of those songs too, but the X-Files song, I loved it. Always have. I love the Unsolved Mysteries theme. I love the Sightings theme.
Now, Unsolved Mysteries, I actually didn't mind that music. I actually liked that show.
It's great music. And I know we were gonna wrap this up, so I say we go ahead and do that. But again, we got plenty of time in October for all kinds of spooky stuff. And Fox, if you want to come back and join us on our next Shoot the Shit, I'd be more than happy to invite you back. We could talk about some other actual unsolved cases. Like, I actually want to talk about the real, and this is a real person, the real very scary murder or death of Eliza Lamb. That one's a freaky one. I'm not
Ooh,
sure.
I know that one.
Yeah, that I'd like to kind of discuss that just to, get people's thoughts, maybe theories and stuff. So, today was just a spooky made-up story.
There's a lot of cases that can be talked about that you just have to There's just so many weird things about them that you're just how?
Yeah, no, I'd like to talk about them, but I said,
mean, the history of the hotel itself that she died in has a whole history of bad.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the Cecil Hotel has its own bad history due to some of the people that lived there or used to live there.
Sounds like a good topic.
Or stay there technically.
So yeah, I would definitely like to invite you back next week if you wanna join us. We can definitely talk about all the spooky, scary stuff that goes on in this world.
Oh, I don't mind.
Reality is stranger than fiction, as they say. But as for now, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. I've been joined today by the rather quiet hostess with the mostest, Valkyrie Grinder.
That's
And Death the Fox Goddess as our guest star.
Hi.
And I, of course...
technically, bye.
And I, of course, was the one, the only, highly rated, armor-plated, imitated, but never duplicated Espionage DB7. If you're new here...
I'm waiting for the Halloween version.
I don't have a Halloween version.
Now, come on, Espy. I know you can make one.
I don't wanna. It's too much work.
Fine.
I do. I have other stuff. But for anybody who's new out there and who's watching us, we appreciate you tuning in. Be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. Like I said, it's only here on Odds and Ends Gaming that you can get our Oddities and Endtrails celebration, our weekly podcast, our Fallback Fridays, which will be coming back in November, all that stuff. So, leave a like, share, subscribe. If you're listening on Amazon Music or anywhere else where there are podcasts, give us a thumbs up, follow us, whatever. We love having you. Most importantly, take it easy and settle down. Have a great one.